How dinero? Another clap for one more time. Waiting all day in disputes na Salone that we get talent. We have a lot of creativity, a lot of talent. We tell you thank you for you work what you do and for the message what you don't give. Friends, you know, in your life, sometimes you have a moment. I was privileged to be one of the Tutu fellows. My sister, who is one of the in my classmates in the Tutu Fellowship program, is here with me today. Your Excellency, she's the first African to open an art gallery in LA, in London, and in Lagos. She's here with us, really. She's here. She's originally from Nigeria. And she was a Tutu fellow with me. And in our class on the first day, we had the privilege of meeting Dr. Mavuso. He was invited as our keynote speaker. There are some people you meet in your life, and in a few minutes, you realize you are in front of greatness. He had that impact on all of us. A true revolutionary, a reformer, a statesman, one of Africa's great civic leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome the young octogenarian, the great Dr. Mavuso. He will say a few words and then we'll sit down and I'll ask him a couple of questions. Please come forward. I see he's very young.
Your Excellency, before I even greet you, I think it's an act of injustice to ask me to talk after this wonderful singer. Excellency, President Dr. Julius Manda Bio, Chief Minister Dr. David Senge, excuse my breach of these good African names, Cabinet Ministers, traditional leaders, religious leaders, and when you run out of addresses, then you say all protocol observed. Please allow me to do that. But Cherno, I really cannot understand what happened to me, President. He was a delegate to the Desmond Tutu leadership African Leadership Academy. They gathered at a place in South Africa called Stellenbosch, where people develop scenarios about the future. And it was absolutely a privilege for me to be asked to participate with those young African people. I would like just to be allowed again to greet the youth. It's been a while since anybody referred to me as a youth. So welcome. I think the future of Africa, which we have handled and sometimes mishandled, rests on the shoulders of young people. And it is absolutely correct that the Salone Festival takes in its stride the youth of this country. Dr. Cherno, I want to thank you. It was okay to meet us there, but you should not have given me such a high jump. I'm in trepidation. I don't quite know what to say. I come from a country that, like Sierra Leone, was colonized for a very long time. I think they colonized us much longer than you guys. 1652, the Dutch came, did their number, killed our people, took our land. Then came the British, who were stronger than the Dutch. They overpowered these, and in combination, nevertheless, still continued to suppress everybody. They decided, in fact, to take our name. They called themselves Afrikaners. And we say these things without even thinking about how anybody from Holland suddenly becomes an Afrikaner, an African, without consulting the African people. But never mind, there are enough wars to be fighting over those things. They are welcome. They are part of our nation. After the departure of the British, who handed over what was called, they claimed to be decolonizing in 1910, when in fact what they did was to hand power over to their kith and kin in South Africa. And they exclusively stated in the British South Africa Parliament Act of 1909 that the franchise will be completely denied to anybody but people who came from Europe. So that's really where we've come from. That gave birth eventually to an organization called the African National Congress, the oldest in Africa. We were the last to come for. We were the first in Africa to create a resistance, a liberation movement, I think. Excuse me if I make a mistake. We were the last to achieve our independence. We thought we'd learned quite a bit from what we saw from our African brothers who were extremely helpful to us. Without them, we would not have achieved independence in South Africa. So long live African unity. Then came a time when our oppressors decided that, in fact, it was not good, it was not in their interest to continue to have the African National Congress as an operating organization, and they banned it. That's when Nelson Mandela said, in the history of any movement, there comes a time when you decide whether you must die as you are being told, or take up arms and live and lead people to the future. That is how the Spear of the Nation, or Umkhonto weSizwe, which by accident of my existence at the time, I joined shortly after it was formed in 1960. We had to go outside of South Africa to learn how to fight. Africa assisted us. We're in Algeria, we were in Addis, we were in Egypt, Morocco also. And our people received training there because, by the way, the severity of the oppression there, of the segregation was such that no African was allowed into the South African army. And if you hoped to overthrow these guys, you had to learn the skill from outside. I'm one of those who left, learned the skills, and participated to a very limited extent in fighting not just these people in South Africa, but also the Rhodesians who appropriated the name of Zimbabwe. And we made common cause in an effort to get to South Africa. So in time, though, having been in Africa, outside South Africa, I had the opportunity also to do some studies, which took me to the University of. It wasn't for love of insects that I did this. It sounded very nice, this name, and I thought I should study it, and also biochemistry. We fought a very difficult war, and when we achieved it in 1994, that ended 342 years of colonization. We had the opportunity since I came here to go around. We went to the museum, a fascinating place. A young person told us about the history of this country. It's absolutely amazing. Sierra Leone. We still call ourselves South Africa. I hope one day we'll find a name that is not just a geographical description of where we are. But I want to introduce new things here. So I'm happy to have been invited here. There are great things which I think Minister Cherno and I can discuss. I was told not to talk too much here. We would sit down and he would ask me exactly why I'm here, and I would try to answer. Have I said enough, Dr. Cherno?
Thank you. Let's please give him another round of applause. I'm going to move here and I'll ask him just two quick questions. If they can help me with another microphone, that would be helpful. I know you're very. Just wanted to highlight and ask you one thing. I always wonder, you're a young man, obviously very intelligent. You have something in common with the other young man that you're seated next to. As young people, you chose to defend your country, to defend a higher cause, a cause that's bigger than you. I just want you to speak to the young people of Sierra Leone, what it means to sacrifice for your country. You were willing to give up your life for the freedom of your people. Can you speak to that idea of giving yourself up for a cause that's bigger than you and why that was important to you? You have a microphone over there.
Thank you very much. I don't think I had a choice. When the white people decided that the African National Congress should not continue to operate legally, it meant that it had to die. At the time, I was about 18 years of age. The Sharpeville, I don't know how many people are old enough, caused the African National Congress and the Pan-African Congress to be banned because people had been asked to go to a police station, present themselves, and give up an ID that is called a DOM pass. DOM means stupid. It was called a stupid pass because its reason was to control the movement of the people. It defined where you could live. It defined who you could associate with. Really, when apartheid was condemned as a crime against humanity, it was in reaction to those things. Actually, when I left South Africa, I was in the crosshairs of the police. They were about to arrest me. And I was advised by the underground structure to go abroad and study. When I was in Botswana en route to exile, the establishment hit a body blow, hit us with a body blow. They arrested the entire leadership of the African National Congress, which was planning the revolution. They took documents, they had everybody under arrest. So at that point, I decided that there was no way in which I would expect younger people to go and train militarily while I went to study. I went to study in Moscow. They taught me a little bit of guerrilla warfare. Could blow everybody up here if things went bad. How to make homemade explosives and things like that. But really, our enemy was always defined. You know, it sounds very heroic, and I think there was quite a fair element of courage in deciding. I spent 31 years in exile, except when we went in uh, unknown and retreated again. So when you are told that you may not go to a university because you are black, when you are told that you may not join, you may not be in parliament, you can't vote because you are black, it really leaves you with little choice but to take up arms and fight. It's much easier. It's more difficult, I think, but for the people, young people today, who have their countries liberated and who must deal with issues like HIV, AIDS, and so on. It's not as stark as the enemy. We had no choice but to do this.
Thank you very much. Let's round of applause for that. 31 years in exile and to make a choice about your humanity. I want to close with a different kind of fight that you have been associated with in South Africa. The ANC has had some difficult moments, and in some moments, you tendered your resignation from the ANC. You've been a public. I mean, he rejoined after he settled. He wanted to make a statement about it. But as a public servant, I've had people call you the conscience of South Africa. You chose to serve with integrity. If something doesn't work for you in an office, you were willing to walk away. I want you to share to us as public officials who are here about civic integrity and putting your country above, no matter how there that interest is to you, but your country is number one. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Thank you very much. The ANC was always a vehicle to the empowerment of people. It was a vehicle. When at a certain time I thought the vehicle was heading towards a ravine, I decided to come out of it and see how else to move with the people towards liberations. A vehicle for liberation, not the end all. I went back, by the way, because there is something called the Veterans League in the African National Congress. It consists of older people who said to me, wow, you are trending now, Mavusum Simang and all of that. But you and us were on a common platform to fight against corruption. And this plank, that is you, has been removed. The fight must continue. Come back. And that is how I went back to the ANC. It's not as if the president of the ANC, president, asked me to go back and all of that. I might have respected him, but I respected more my colleagues who said the fight against corruption, which had taken root big time, is nothing to hide here. Otherwise, we're deceiving one another. The ANC lost its way to the point that for the first time after 30 years, it lost the mandate and the respect of the people and only gained 40% of the vote. That was a tragedy. So the battle for the liberation of South Africa really must be pursued via means political and not political. Civil society has a responsibility. We have something called Defend Our Democracy, where we take matters up, fix roads, fix water that is not working. You have to really try and be as close as possible to the people. That's the challenge that's not very easy to accomplish.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mavuso, thank you so much. Please, a bigger round of applause. Very inspiring. Civic leadership, we can choose the vehicles, but we must never forget the cause. And the cause is the people. And the cause is the fight against corruption. And I always make reference to President Bio, who has always chosen a cause that's bigger than himself. Thank you very much, Dr. Mavuso, for joining us in Sierra Leone. We look forward to enjoying your wisdom over the next 3 days. Friends, we have come to the absolute high point of today's event. It's time for the keynote speech. I don't want to waste your time to introduce President Bido. We have a lot of work around to do. He does not require an introduction. But I will say, Your Excellency, the National Commission for Civic Education and the Ministry of Information want to give you an award for your civic leadership and for setting civic tone. And that is how we want to usher you to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise on your feet for those of you who can. We have a very special award to give to His Excellency. Open it. Come. This is award presented to His Excellency President Dr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, the national champion for civic education and open government partnership, in recognition of your exemplary leadership and devotion to promoting civic education and open governance partnership. Let's please put our hands together. Thank you very much. Thank you, Excellency. Please remain standing as His Excellency takes the podium now to deliver his keynote. Let's please give him a big, big round of applause.
Thank you very much. Let's sit down, please. The Chief Minister, Ministers of Government, Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the guest speaker, Dr. Mavuso, a great man, and thank you for being part of a movement that saved so many and has given freedom to a great people in South Africa. Religious and traditional leaders, development partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think it's still good afternoon. Of course, it's a profound opportunity to be here at this 2025 edition of the Salone Civic Festival. And I'm here to interact with you on national issues. But let me begin by warmly recognizing our distinguished international guests who have traveled from afar, the United States of America, Kenya, Somaliland, but as close as Liberia too, Canada, Nigeria, in order to grace this occasion. Your presence here reaffirms our shared commitment to democratic governance and people-centered development. I also want to pay special tribute to our guest speaker, and I've started to do that already, Dr. Mavuso. We thank you for your lifelong service to public accountability and for being here to share with us your remarkable story and experience. We've just gotten a hint of that. I would love to listen to you for as long as possible. Maybe we'll find that time. We are gathered here today in a space that bears a familiar name, but with a new purpose. We are here at the newly designed Miata Civic Center, formerly known as the Miata Conference Center. From this day forward, this building will be the home of a new civic culture in Sierra Leone. My government is transforming this space into a national hub for civic engagement, creativity, and digital innovation. The Miata Civic Center will be a place where citizens speak truth to power, where artists create the future, where innovators experiment, and where government connects directly with people. We've already seen my ambassador speak truth to power. But let power speak truth to the people. To whom much is given, much is expected. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our annual Civic Festival is not just a mere event. It is a platform for citizens to see how their government architecture works. For the next 3 days, government institutions, artists, professionals, and community voices will share their single civic space to converse on national issues. It is an opportunity to deepen our democratic peace by bringing government closer to the people, giving them access to information, and for them to have a say in the way they are being governed. In addition to this civic festival, we have introduced weekly government press briefings that you are all familiar with. We have held civic town hall meetings across the and we have fostered open dialogue on civic political issues and governance reform policies. Since the days of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission at Bintumani 1 and 2, of which I was also a participant, no administration, and I say this as authoritatively as possible, in Sierra Leone has committed itself to promoting press freedom and creating space for national conversation than my government. So today I'm glad to be here and to announce that we are also taking steps to restore our national voice by reviving two historic institutions that once shaped our national consciousness but have been long abandoned. First, we are bringing back the Sierra Leone Daily Mail. The Daily Mail returns not as a relic of the past, but as a modern digital and public interest press house. I assure you of that change. It will serve as an authoritative source for factual reporting and civic education. The one the way they lie. It will carry investigative stories and historical features that rebuild our national values. This is the rebirth of a national institution designed to strengthen our democracy. Second is the rebirth of Salone. Not everybody is clapping because I see very young faces here, they don't know what Salone is. The Sierra Leone News Agency, established in 1977, before a lot of them were born. It's been reborn as a modern multimedia nationwide service. Why a service? In an age of fake news, Salone will be dedicated to ensuring that citizens receive verified, inclusive, and timely information. It will maintain correspondence in all districts and actively counter misinformation and disinformation. So together, both the Daily Mail and Salone will rebuild the backbone of Sierra Leone's public information architecture. To ensure open government, I'm proud to launch the GovSL. This is a single central digital platform built by DSTI to give citizens a reliable place to find all government announcements, policies, and institutional contacts, and we serve as the primary national information gateway. Furthermore, to ensure transparency, we have launched the medium-term National Development Plan dashboard, referred to by the deputy, which I have urged the respective ministries to display here at the festival. For the first time, any citizen can track national development, sector by sector, district by district, target by target. That is how open we are. This is accountability through technology. To support this ecosystem, I'm also launching 3 critical policy frameworks today. 1, the government information policy. 2, the records and archives policy. And 3, the national film and video policy. These policies will shape how we communicate, how we preserve our history, and how we support our creative industries. Ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, was established to create an impartial record of our civil war and to make recommendations for lasting peace in this country. In paragraph 202 of chapter 4 of the volume 2 of its report, the Commission recommended that government declares 18th January as the official day of the end of the war as a National Reconciliation Day, dedicated to honoring the victims of the war and promoting peace in this country. As many of the recommendations in the TRC, only this government, nearly after 20 years, is implementing them. Therefore, in fulfillment of that recommendation, now, therefore, I, Brigadier Julius Madabio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and like they have said, Supreme Head of State, Grand Commander of the Order of the Republic, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Sierra Leone, do hereby proclaim that the 18th day of January shall be commemorated as the National Remembrance Day throughout the Republic of Sierra Leone. Thank you. We have to remember the many people who died for us. Some of us carry the scars. Sometimes when I walk, they think I'm bluffing when I limp. Some carry the scars internally. We have to remember their sacrifice. The National Remembrance Day will be dedicated to civic education, community service, peace building, and honoring the victims and survivors of that war. It will be a day of reflection to deepen national cohesion and unity, and to say never again. I call on the Ministry of Information and Civic Education and the Peace Commission to lead our annual efforts